And we're live. How about that? Hi,
Yay.
everybody, and welcome to tonight's episode of Real Talk with Diane and Bruce. And our special guest today is Nancy Safran. So, welcome, Nancy.
Thanks for having me.
Hi, Nancy.
Absolutely. So, we like to get right into it. I know people's time is valuable, so there's no reason to wait around. We just will start talking about this week's subject. Every week we come on at 7 o'clock. And they do get recorded. People are watching them on reruns, if you will, which is great. Last week when we had on Doug Koval, our CPA, who spoke about capital gains taxes when you sell your house. And this week we have Nancy Safran on, who is a professional home stager, who the Needle Group utilizes many times throughout the year and the season. So welcome, Nancy, and let's get right into it.
Well, thanks for having me, Diane. We were talking before just about some of the things that your sellers might be wondering when they're going to stage a home and what that means. And, one of the things I always tell your sellers is that we can do a lot with what they have, or we can bring in new furniture, but staging doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be a big move everything out moment. We do a lot of work in your owner-occupied properties, using what they have, bringing in accessories, a few pieces here and there can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. And I do agree with you. Sometimes sellers are very worried about that. They may have a real sentimental piece in their home and they're like, oh my God, everything's leaving, or everything. Like it's not as black and white as I think some sellers think staging is. We put together a little slideshow that I'm going to pull up. And let me see if I can do this. Let's see. There we go. Good. We can see us and we can see the slideshow. So let me see if I can advance. This is the part that I'm not good at.
Maybe next week's guest will be someone to teach you how to use IT.
Well, you know what it is? I just don't know how to advance the PowerPoint when I'm in it, Did that advance?
We got it. Yes, that's
it. All right. So this is what Nancy does not do. When your house is for sale, using a pile of colorful laundry to make a drab room pop does not count as staging. I love that slide. Yes, we've all been in on Zillow or Trulia or MLS, whether you're a real estate agent or a consumer, and we have seen these crazy pictures. And what I always tell our sellers is that the times have changed, right? And here's Nancy, what a beautiful picture. There's her contact info. We'll post that again at the end as well. And the thing is, when we decide to stage a home, it's because pictures are everything nowadays, right, Nancy? You can't sell a house with lousy pictures. The statistic is, I think, well over 85% of buyers begin their search online. So if you don't have good photos and a good representation of the property and the product that we're presenting, then people are going to just pass right by it, even if it's a really great product. Nancy, do you want to speak to that and what you do to make buyers want to come into our homes and our listings?
Right. Good point, because visuals everything, and really home staging is visual marketing. It's a way of showcasing the home and all the attributes, not so much what's in it, but helping people notice the things that they're getting. Beautiful floors, beautiful views, a fireplace, all those things that home owners may not be featuring. They have lots of your homeowners have lived in their home a long time, and they've used some really creative strategies. In a living room becomes a Zoom room, or a bedroom becomes a closet, and that sort of thing. But that's not what the buyer is looking for. They want to see how they can imagine their own life in a room. So what we do in a house that you're selling, so what we do is we use furniture in a way that helps them understand the function of the room, and also makes it inviting and makes them picture a lifestyle. And so it's not necessarily really, I tell your sellers this all the time, it has really the flip side of design. It's not so much about the sellers, it's about the buyers, and investing in staging and preparing a home gets them better pictures so you can get them a better price.
I'm always very sensitive to that, and I think we have to be. You know, everyone has their own sense of style, and no style is bad. Everyone's an individual, right? So whether you love all white furniture, or you love big, heavy leather and wooden furniture, or you have very eclectic taste in art and you have lots of large paintings around your home, that's great. I've used the term de-decorate in the past when I talk to sellers, right? It's like, you've decorated your house. Now we're going to sort of undecorate it so it can become that product that the masses will enjoy. You know, you kind of make it that generic look that, you know, you may not want to live like this. However, it's definitely the most appealing when buyers come into a property, because you've said this a few times, Nancy, you don't want people to notice the big ugly couch in the center of the room, or the big dark painting, or the heavy drapery, or the stained carpeting, or whatever it might be. You want them to notice the size of the room. We want them to notice the ceiling height. Right. And if you have other things in the room that are distracting buyers from that, you're taking away from the product that they're investing in.
Right. You want them to notice the house, not what's in it, is what I tell your sellers all the time. My goal is to use what they have to help buyers see what they're getting. So that's why stagers typically say, let's remove some of the carpets, because we want to showcase those beautiful hardwoods, or let's remove some of the personal items that are I mean, they can be beautiful things, as you said, but they're distracting buyers from noting the fireplace and noting the windows and whatnot. So it's really has nothing to do with taste or personal taste. It's all about marketing.
Absolutely. But we always have to be cautious we don't call someone's baby ugly.
Well,
Right?
right.
Yeah. Right? I always have to be cautious of that. I typically know pretty immediately. Am I in presentation mode? I think I am. I know pretty quickly when I need to bring Nancy in, right? And even if I don't need to bring you in, sometimes we do, right? Because there are things that you're going to see that a seller's been living in the house for 30 years. They're used to seeing what they see, and maybe just a little bit of a tweak can make a big difference. I love this. So we have some slides here to talk about. According to the 2019 National Association of Realtors report, on average, sellers see about a 5% return on investment nationwide, and 28% of listing agents are staging sellers' homes before listing. I would argue that could be even higher today. What do you think?
I do. I think it's much higher. We haven't had a good National Association of Realtors study recently, but that's 2 years old. And the one that I saw said that you typically make 15% higher in 2020 from staging. And so the other thing that I think sellers are a little afraid of is there a big cost involved? And I always tell them it's an investment. We would never ask people to spend money they're not going to get back and then some. It's investment in selling better.
100%.
I think those pictures say it all.
Yeah, I mean, so here's an example. This was a recent listing of ours at the Needle Group, and now the unfortunate part about this picture, to be quite honest with you, is the before picture is actually about 30% better or 50% better than it was when I actually found the house. This before this photo was taken, there was also a set of floral furniture in this room. There were heavy curtains on that big, beautiful new bay window, by the way. That's a new, gorgeous window. There were heavy curtains on top of it. And there were photographs on the wall from, I would argue, I think the 1970s. family photos from the 1970s. I could tell by the size of the collars on the shirts of the people that were hanging on the wall. Now look on the right. I mean, we can just kind of end the seminar right here. Right, Nancy?
There you go. Kind of says it all. But
It says it all.
Your example too of the curtains, right? I do have that before picture. I'll have to send it to you. You did not see this gorgeous window and view because all you were looking at was the curtains. Just removing them made such a difference.
Made such a difference. And get ready for this. Those floors were not installed. Those gorgeous hardwood floors were under the blue carpeting. So, and we're very, bringing Nancy in, staging is one of the pieces that I think is almost probably one of the least expensive, right? There was a cost involved in this to remove the carpeting and to finish the floors. So, because, there were marks on the stairs coming in, and we had to just polish them up a little bit. But for the most part, they were in beautiful condition. They did not need any patching. They were literally covered, like the entire life of that floor was covered. But when we did this, and when I'm guiding sellers, we did make some decisions to save them money, right? That we did not feel like would be a big bang for the buck. And that was the walls. You can't really tell in the pictures in the walls, but the walls have wallpaper on them. And it was going to be a very big expense removing the wallpaper throughout the house. And so that was something we did not end up doing. And it was okay. The room still looked absolutely gorgeous. And at that point in a photograph, when people came into the house and they realized it was wallpaper, you know what? It was okay. It was okay because now buyers are like, all right, well, we can paint, we can remove the wallpaper, but it's neutral. It's not terrible. But look at the beautiful windows and look at the gorgeous floors, right? And look at the fireplace. They could see all the different elements that they wanted in the house that they were looking to buy.
Right. Making good decisions, right? Of where to invest your money. And this one is vacant, but I know you have a couple that are owner occupied that show too that you can live in a house while it's staged and make those investments and still, live comfortably and sell the house well.
Absolutely. And well, let's show some examples of that.
One of my favorite ones. I love that house.
This is your favorite one, Nancy?
I love the house. I loved your sellers. It was great to work with them. And this was sort of we met them in the middle of COVID. And when I met your sellers, they were all wearing masks and we were social distancing and trying to, talk about how would they be able to live. They had kids at home and other, things that they had to be working from home and whatnot. And then over time, we came back. They did such a great job. They did everything on our list. We asked them to repaint the fireplace and repaint the walls and remove pretty much, their dining area. And they did it all. And that's their dining area on the left. And you can see on the right, here we did bring in all new furniture for that area, for the living room. And I don't know if we have the family room there too. But in doing those things, we're able to get that kind of result. And I know they did,
This house sold for $100,000 over asking price.
Wow. Yeah.
It was such a success story. And I would argue that if we had not given the advice we gave to these sellers and they did not take our advice, they would not have done nearly as well. With the investments, the investment they made in this house, they got their money back. And I think at the end of the day, that's what sellers have to understand, is that we have the experience to know what buyers are looking for and where your money should be spent. We're not going to tell you to do something that we don't feel will bring a return on your money. And also, again, it's all about getting the eyeballs on the property and getting people in to see the property. And if they see these pictures on the left, I don't know about you, but I'm not really that enticed to go see this home, right? It's like, oh, well, these people, they don't, that's really big furniture. That looks weird in that room. And look, there's a wall air conditioner that's kind of dated. When you go to the right, you say, wow, look at this design in this home. This is so cool looking. I need to go see this house. And it's just, and listen, this house was not perfect, right, Nancy? I mean,
there were limitations to it, but I think it really did captivate buyers because it was really unique. It was a fun one to stage. There were
yeah,
challenges.
yeah,
Look at the bottom pictures. I often tell your sellers, the person who buys the house usually lives in that primary bedroom. So we need to give them something really special. And on the left, it really wasn't special, but the views were great.
oh
So
yeah, look at the size of the windows. There were like walls of glass in this house. It was very mid-century modern.
it really was. It was a really fun one. And I think, once we had removed some of the home sellers things and put in ours and put in new bedding and put in artwork and pillows, and they lived in that house, while they were selling. They can do that as part of the package. And it made such a difference. People could really picture a luxury lifestyle there.
Absolutely. And the grounds were beautiful. Everything about the house, it was in a beautiful neighborhood. It had a beautiful yard, but people had to see and envision themselves in here. And that's what we ended up doing. Here's another one you did for us, Nancy. I loved this one too. This was a colonial home in the center of Sharon. And I loved what we did to this house. I loved that white couch on the left actually belonged to the sellers. They had moved out of the house. They weren't living here anymore. But we did utilize that particular couch in the other room, right? In the front to back family room.
We did, and we do that a lot. We cherry pick which pieces will photograph well, are the right scale for the rooms, how can we repurpose them. As you said, we don't want people to spend money they don't have to. So, that was a joy. We came in before and we cherry picked from what they had. We used some of their beds. We used some case goods that they had in that sectional. And I think you have a picture in the other room of how we reused the sectional in a different room. And it absolutely made the room.
Do I have it? Yeah, there it is right there, Nancy.
Right. So there's the sectional in the living room. And you can see in the living room too, another recommendation we made was to paint out the fireplace. And it brought the room alive. That was a very heavy, dark fireplace for what we wanted to do was something light and bright and airy. And that, the sectional worked perfectly there. This is their bed. And you can see we used it again on the left and the top.
That's right.
What we had when we walked in, and we reused it, and we showed a day bed. And we try to do that. We try to show different ways you can use bedrooms. That could be with a day bed in it. It could also be an office. We had another one with a king size bed, another one with a queen. So, any number of buyers could really say, hey, I could fit all these different functions, all these different necessities in. But I loved that house too. That was a fun one.
The other thing that was interesting, that before picture on the left on the bottom, it looks like it's wall-to-wall carpeting. That was such an easy removal, believe it or not. That was simply a piece of carpeting that the seller had laid down on top of the hardwood floor. It wasn't glued, it wasn't stapled, nothing. So it was just literally a removal. So that was, a big, and even look on the walls, those shelves, they were filled with, I don't know, toys and Legos and such. We just removed them completely. And then look at the paint job. Just amazing. Look at the difference. It's night and day, just night and day.
Di, can I just add to this?
Absolutely, Bruce.
So, as a buyer agent, let me tell you what staging does for me when I'm walking through a house with a client. So some of these before pictures, some of them are dramatic, some of them are just, basic plain. But when I look at things on the right-hand side that are nice and clean lines, regardless of what they're highlighting, I also don't question how well the house has been maintained. So when I see this kind of clean looking environment, I'm not turning to my buyers and saying, Ooh, I wonder if they ever maintained the house. I wonder if they ever cleaned the furnace. I wonder if they ever did blah, 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 whatever it may be. Because when we walk into a house that looks nice, neat, clean, and shows this stuff, you kind of get the feeling, staged or not, it doesn't matter, that the seller has done a nice job of maintaining the house.
Absolutely.
Like, I'll give you a perfect, for instance, there's a house for sale right now. It's a for sale by owner situation. And whenever clients of mine walk through it, they see dirty furniture. They see not well maintained lifestyle, which makes you then wonder, when I peel the onion back a little bit, what am I going to find?
Right.
Whereas if we walk into a house with a client and we see this nice, clean look, we don't worry about the rest of it.
I will also add to that, Bruce, and say some people think, some sellers, because we are definitely still in a seller's market, even though there's a little bit more inventory compared to other years, even though we're in a hot seller's market, that does not mean that every house sells.
No.
And it does not mean that you won't get more money if you invest and do what we do with our listings. Would you not agree with that?
100. It all has to do with seeing the right value for that particular house. And if something is overpriced and you think that there may be other issues that are there, then it doesn't matter. Seller's market makes no difference. But if you're a seller and you price it appropriately, because Diane helps you price it appropriately and Nancy helps you stage it, the people that walk through that house, my buyers, look at it and say, I can see myself here. I can see the brightness of the rooms. I can see the maintenance of the floors. I can see all of the little details because they're presented to me. Buyers, for the most part, want to see shiny, bright, and new. And in my perspective, what the kind of staging that you do, Nancy, gives them the perspective of new. Whether it's new or not, it gives them a perspective of new. So now you're projecting something that's clean lines, that I can see my furniture in here. When I walk into a house with a buyer and there's big clunky furniture, it makes the house look smaller. It gives us a hard time projecting their lifestyle in there. It just changes the whole perspective. When I walk into a room like this room behind Nancy right now, and it's open and you can see, space, everything comes into place to say, I could see myself living there.
And that's exactly what Jamie just said. Thank you, Jamie. I could see myself in the afters way more, right? And that's the truth, right? People walk into a house and it's like walking into a beautiful furniture store. It's like walking into a beautiful jewelry store. What if you walked into a beautiful jewelry store and instead of walking into a jewelry store, you walked into, somebody's kitchen and they had a box of very expensive jewelry, but it was just stuck in a brown box. And they said, take a look and see what's in there, right? It's all in the presentation, right? It's all it's like Nancy said it perfectly. It's visual marketing. And it's just such a no-brainer in so many ways. And the difficulty I have sometimes is there are some sellers that don't want to stage, right? That they don't see the value. So part of what I need to do is really present these types of examples. I have to present the results we've obtained in doing our staging, and hopefully, they come around and they see the value in it. As again, it especially in a hot seller's market, people are like, well, why do I have to bother? It's going to sell anyways. Well, guess what? Maybe you'll get one offer for sure, but maybe you don't get 5. Maybe you don't get the bidding war. And that's the difference. And I tell people that it's not necessarily that you won't get an offer, but you may not get the right offer.
Right off. And you may not get the right buyer even in the door.
Right. That's exactly right. The person that would love the house is going to be deterred from these bad pictures or clunky rooms or dirty rooms or whatever it might be. So I tell people we sell very differently than we live. That's one of my lines. It's like, who lives with no coffee maker and, nothing on their countertops? I mean, let's be real. If you walked into my house right now or Nancy's, I'm sure we have lots of stuff on our kitchen counter. But then again, we're not selling, we're not photographing today. And that's what we need to do to present when we sell a house. All right.
Impressions, right?
Right? It's all about first impressions for sure, because you cannot make a first impression twice.
Right.
Let me get back here to this PowerPoint and see if I can show a few more pictures here. All right, so this was more of that first house. You can see on the left more of the blue carpeting, and then look at on the right again, and how open and bright it looked. And here's the other thing that's funny, like the chandelier, if you guys can see on the bottom right, that chandelier, Nancy, I just loved what you did with this room. That chandelier before, with the blue carpeting and very large old style dining room furniture, looked ugly and awful. But once all of that was out, there was gold in that chandelier, and you put paintings on the walls that had gold specks in them and elements of gold. It looked like, if you were to buy this house, you would be like, oh, I'm not changing the chandelier. It's perfect.
Well, but it's true. You look for those architectural details, like the big mirror that was built in over the fireplace, and it can either be an attribute or a detriment. And
Yeah,
so
let's go back to that one. Yeah, right here.
we
Yep.
wanted people to see it as an attribute, as something they get when they move here. And it had gold detailing in that mirror. You can't really see it there. There was gold in the chandelier, and that's sort of what, and then we put artwork in with some gold, and that's really what we try to do, is enhance what's there and make it desirable. And then, remove those things like big draperies or heavy or the blue carpeting to show, look what this home has to offer. So yeah, that was a fun one.
That was a great one. I love that one. This was another thing, this is the time of year when people are thinking of selling. I always make sure it doesn't quite look this beautiful yet in Sharon with all these gorgeous colors, but it will soon. And then soon after that, it will not look like that. We'll have a lot of bare trees around the town and around many New England communities. So if people are looking to sell or thinking about selling within the next year, within the next few months, even over the winter period, or they're unsure, now is the time. Get a real estate agent involved so that they can get some photos of the property in full bloom with beautiful foliage before things die out, because these pictures will just be gorgeous and really show off the property. Okay. What else? What we have? So, these are just a few more slides about what's going on in the market. Look at this percentage of homes selling over list price. Look at this. June, 50%. July 2021, 49%. So we're still finding ourselves in a seller's market. And there was a recent statistic that I read. The best week to sell a house is, if there is one, is October 3rd to October 9th. So that's next week. So get moving, everybody. What are we looking at here? We are looking at new monthly listing counts from 2017 to 2021. And look at that green arrow showing 2021. So you can see that listings are increasing, right? They've gone up, but comparatively speaking, back to the 2018, 2017, we're still well below where the inventories and the housing market were. So thankfully they are going up a little bit, and it's getting a little bit easier for some buyers out there that left the market, and they are now coming back in. We definitely do have a tick up in the fall market. Average days on market. We just have some more slides here to show people. It's always good to look at what's going on. This is NAR again, the National Association of Realtors. Look at that. 17 days on the market is the average days on the market right now. And that is not just New England. This is national. This is national, and I would say this holds very true for our local market here as well. That's a pretty powerful slide. All right. All right. What else we got here? Oh, we have some comments that I see. How much? Rangana asked. Let me post this. How much? Thanks, Rangana, for your question. How much do you think one should invest in staging based on your experience? You want to take that one, Nancy?
Sure. So there are different levels of staging, and it has to do somewhat with whether we're bringing in packages that include furniture. So it depends a little bit on the state of your home and how much we need to bring in. But typically, what we start with, what I do for Diane's clients, is do a consultation. So it's just a couple of $100 to come in and see what we can do with what you have. Typically, staging a home is about 1.5% if we're bringing in furnishings of the sales price, and they're making between 8 and 10%. So it's kind of a no-brainer. It's 10 times what you're putting in.
And we would take those odds at the casino all day long, right? Not that any of us go to a casino. I'm just saying.
That's a good question she's asking. People think it's thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and it really doesn't have to be. It's a minimal investment for a very large return on that investment. And that's the way to think about staging. It's an investment.
And it's also an investment that is making your house sell that much faster, right? If your house is not, let's put it this way, and here again, something else I tell my sellers, the cost of staging is a lot less money than a price adjustment.
Oh, so true. We've said that in previous markets, when they weren't as crazy. It's always less expensive to stage. You're going to take 5% off. We could stage it for 1%. And, you're going to get multiple offers.
I have a question for you, Nancy. How do you, when you walk into a home, how do you decide sort of what inventory you're bringing in? Like, do you kind of like go in and say, this needs a blue palette or a gold palette? Do you know that right away? Is it inventory based, or do you just like you said, do you look at the elements and kind of go from there in your notes, and you kind of walk out of there knowing exactly what you're going to do?
Well, that's a good question. I think, every project is different, and sometimes we're inspired by the setting, and we really want people to see that. Sometimes we're inspired by the architectural elements, like the gold touches, or a particular element that we want to reference again and again and again. Sometimes it's the floors. Sometimes there is some artwork that we want to use that the home seller might have, or, some fixed element like the color of the wood cabinetry in the kitchen, and we want to enhance that with our furniture. So and of course the style of the home, a Victorian versus a mid-century versus a colonial. So there's a lot of considerations.
You just reminded me of something that happened a few years back, and I don't know if you remember this, but there was a house that we staged that was, oh my gosh, there was carpeting in the kitchen. There was a built-in laminate like desk, if you will, or a counter, like table.
It was a table in the kitchen.
That's right. And there were red elements in the kitchen, right? Something was red, Bruce. What was it? The handles or something was red.
Counter.
No, it wasn't the counter. There was something in there that was red. Well, regardless, Nancy came in, and I'm sitting there going, oh my God, we got to get rid of this red. We got to get rid of this. This is terrible. What are we going to do with this? Well, next thing you know, red and white, dish towels and different elements came into that kitchen where it was adorable. Like people walked in and thought it was like cool, like kind of like Austin Powers cool, you know? These sellers, it was a vacant house, it was an estate, and we weren't going to do a ton to it. But we definitely brought in the right furniture, and this was a great.
But even better than that, there was wild 60s era wallpaper in one of the bedrooms that was
metallic.
like
It was metallic.
aqua and green. And Nancy was able to get a picture on the wall and some lamps that kind of accentuated it, and it made it look like this kind of cool room to be in.
Yeah. I mean, the woman was, I think, in her 60s, and she said that was the wallpaper in the room when I was growing up. So just to give you an idea of how old it was, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do with that? And it ended up just really looking cool. So you can do so much with so little. And Nancy, do you do things for people also who are not selling their house? I know you're not. You know, that's the really, I want to say, your bread and butter, that's your business. But will you come over and look at someone, like repurpose other people's houses? Like if you want a fresh look, someone watching may say, you know, God, I've been living with this, but I don't like the look of it. Do you move things around in houses and do that type of thing?
Absolutely love to do that type of thing. I love redesign work. And some of your clients have actually asked us to come in after you sell their home in their new homes to get them started, and just redesign with using what they have, because, you know, a fresh eye looks at things very differently, and I love doing that. That's fun for me.
And I think it would be fun for homeowners too. I think some people are intimidated, and I know I've gotten some clients gifts of interior design when they close. I do think sometimes it's intimidating to, you know, to call an interior designer, right? I think there's an element of, oh my God, it's very expensive, or, you know, I don't want to start buying all really expensive furniture, and interior design is for really big, you know, grand, luxurious homes. But that's not the case at all, right?
I think it saves you money. It saves you from buying the wrong scale of furniture, the wrong, you know, colors that you're not going to be happy with. I always tell people, you know, it's the flip side of what I do. What I really do is market a home, and it has nothing to do with the current owner. And when you're redesigning, it's all about the current owner. If their hobby is, you know, I had somebody who had 1 million bobbleheads of all different sports teams. And that's not something we would have had in a home while they were selling. But after they moved, we put up shelves and created, you know, a really nice office with all these bobbleheads. And the home seller was thrilled, and he uses it in his Zoom room now. It's his background. And it was just, you know, one of those that taste-specific items that just wouldn't sell a house, but is really fun. It was fun for him. So, you know, a little of everything. But they're
Marie, I'm going to look. I'm sorry, Nancy. We have a comment from Marie Spoto. You should share pictures of the house with the funky wallpaper and kitchen, and I will try to find them and show those. I promise.
I have them. I just don't know how to share them.
You found them?
Yeah, I went to the listing. I don't know how to share them.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Can I do it?
Sure.
I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can try to do it. Does anyone have any other questions we can answer? I think there's some more in the comments. I'm not going to do it now, Bruce, because I can't find it. If you want to text me the picture, maybe I can do it that way. But other than that, we'll have to save that for another day. What else? I want to see if we had any other slides here that I should pull up. Can you guys see my screen now, or not? Did I not share? Let's see what we have here. There we go. So back to this, and I can go Oh, I'm so not good at this. Yeah, see, now I'm not. I have to start my screen share because I'm not good. Okay, I'm done. I get all famished with this stuff. Oh, anyway, all right. Any final comments? Nancy, what if people want to call you, talk to you, hire you, sell?
Yep, I would love to help anyone who's getting ready to sell. And one thing I tell them all the time is judgment-free zone. When I am there, it's to help you, not to, I'm there to help them sell their house. And a lot of what they're going to do is what they would have to do anyway to leave, right? You have to pack up things. You have to, declutter. But that's a generic word, declutter. So I really tell them very specifically, what they need to do.
That sounds great.
So I'm there to help, not to judge. And I really enjoy working with your sellers, and I'm happy to help anybody else. And they can just go on our website, showhousehomestaging.com, and and pose a question. I'm happy to talk with people.
All right. I'm going to just post that. I think I just, let me see if I can get that up there, showhousehomestaging.com. And Rangana I think you got yourself a new client. Rangana is on here and would love a consultation to get some ideas. So I will connect you two after this show. We'll get you guys connected. And Rangana, you know how to find her now. I just posted the website. So, all right. Well, if there are no other comments at this time, I think we will call it an evening. It's 20 of 8. I think we try to keep this to 30 minutes. I know it gets late, and that went by really fast. I hope everyone enjoyed the pictures, the information. And Nancy, thank you so much. It's always great to talk to you. And I'm so happy that staging has taken off. It wasn't something years ago that people did. And when you look at past pictures, you can clearly tell that. So I'm really happy that you're improving the quality of this business. That's how I look at it.
Thank you, Diane. It's really fun to work with you and Bruce. And I look forward to our next project.
Thanks, Nancy.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.